This week on Whitetail Edge.
And he's kind of a legend in this area.
I'm Tim Woods, welcome to Whitetail Edge. On this week's show, we're going to hop in a tree with Ben Rising. He's chasing another absolute giant of a deer that he calls Big Red.
Whitetail Edge, presented by Woodbury Outfitters.
Just to give you a little gist of this story, because this is not going to be your typical Whitetail Edge episode, because for one, I don't have a lot of footage of this deer. This deer, you know, like I said, my name for the deer was Train. I had been getting pictures of him for 2 or 3 years, 3 years actually. All the locals called the deer Big Red, but I never knew what deer everybody else called Big Red. Big Red was the kind of deer that he summered in a location, and then he would move every fall, and he would end up coming to my direction where I have this farm down close to the river, and it's real steep hills and nasty. And it was just kind of an interesting thing because every year I'd hear everybody talking about seeing Big Red in the summer or getting pictures of him, you know, or filming him in velvet. And friend of mine, Brian Yoder, used to see this deer all the time. I never would get Big Red all summer, nothing. Well then, right about hunting season, as fall would come in, into October, Red would show up. I just wait and wait for the time to be right, and I started getting pictures of him a little closer to daylight, or, you know, before dark every time, you know, just periodically through the week, and the moon phase was getting good. And so, you know, that early rising moon in the evening puts those deer on their feet. Just like a late falling moon in the morning, those deer will feed a lot of times at 9 in the morning. You know, they'll get up and you'll catch a lot of deer coming back to bed late on mornings like that because they want to stop and feed.
It's November 25th. This piece here is not real big, but it's real steep and it's rough. It's hard to hunt. Anyways, I'm on this side hill where these deer are coming off these banks. There's a bunch of big rocks up here and these deer are bedding in them. And I'm hoping I catch these deer coming out of these rocks and feeding through these oaks, heading to this cornfield in the bottom. We'll see what happens. Sitting down, I had a doe behind me, another one to my left, and one coming down the hill. And of course, he comes walking into 30 yards. I couldn't stand up without busting these deer. When I came to full draw, just, and I wasn't watching my level on my sight, and I shot him forward. Dang it. I mean, he's hurting, but I don't think it's gonna kill him. Daggone it. You work so hard to get on these big deer like this. It's just...
So winter goes, season goes out, and, I'm kind of distraught about the whole situation, losing a giant buck like that. And, the snow goes off, season's over, and, I'm allowed to look for the deer, and it's still pretty cold out, and I'm looking for him, and I can't find him. I'm weaving through all these treetops. I'm looking through this whole 200-acre chunk of timber, and I cannot find this deer. So I just figured he lived or he died somewhere far else that I was never going to find him, or somebody else found him and they took the rack. Well, I've got a good forester friend, and his name is Frank Lapino. And Frank Lapino was actually the consultant forester on the logging job. Well, Frank and his worker were in the woods in the spring after it started getting warmed up a little more, and they were seeding trails down with grass seed on the logging job. We're checking the job out, just making sure everything was fine, so they could close up the job completely. Well, they noticed a bunch of crows going into this area, and so they checked it out, and lo and behold, there lies my deer. And so, they don't know any of this yet. They just find this monster buck, which you'd hardly ever find a deer of this size just laying dead in the woods, so it's a real spectacle for them to see. They do the right thing. They call the game warden, they get a carcass tag, and they retrieve the deer. Well, in between time, they had talked to a fellow by the name of Eric McCombs, who lives in Stillwell, Ohio, and Eric had run into Frank on another logging job, and Frank had told him about this big deer he found and where he found it. Well, Eric, knowing me and Eric knowing where I hunt sometimes, and he knew that I'd shot this deer, and Eric tells Frank, he goes, well, I know whose deer that is. And sure enough, Frank texts me, and he says, did you happen to shoot a really big deer by so-and-so? And I was like, well, yeah, I did. I says, but I couldn't recover it. I said, I actually have it on film, and I got 1 million trail pictures of it. And he says, well, could you text me a trail picture of it? And I said, sure. So I had one instantly on my phone, and I flipped it right to him, and I really didn't know what this was about, other than the fact that I did know that Frank was a consultant forester on that job. Instantly, Frank texted me back with a picture of him holding Big Red's antlers, and I couldn't believe it. I was like, you got to be kidding me. Well, the story kind of gets interesting after that, but long story short, Frank gives me the deer, and it was just an amazing thing, and he didn't have to give it to me. By no means did he ever have to do that, but he was gracious enough, and he was willing enough to give me the deer, and we transferred the carcass tag to me, and I appreciate Frank's friend that works for him, because Frank's friend was really the one that actually found it, and the tag was in his name, and so he was willing enough to give me the deer too, and just kind of a sad but a great ending to such a cool story of a big deer. And this is the deer that Brian calls Big Red and I called Train. Just an awesome buck. You can tell he was always so known by his brow tines, and they were always tall. Actually, the year before, these points were a little taller. He was actually score a little more, but he's still right here. He's a 180-inch deer. Just a great buck, and like I said, we figure he's 7.5 to 8.5 years old. Just a big Coshocton County monarch.
All right, we're going to change things up here a little bit and go from shooting some of these big bucks to taking out some predators. I mean, tell me, who doesn't like watching coyotes get shot? It's early February. We're all done deer hunting. Now we're doing our best to take out some of these predators, because I tell you, as I deer hunt here at home, over the years, I have seen the deer numbers declining, and I know these coyotes are getting the fawns in the spring. So we've taken up a little program amongst ourselves here, and you know, after deer season's over and turkey season's, you know, a couple months away, what better to do than get out and get after some coyotes? I mean, one, you're having fun, and two, you're doing your deer herd a big favor by taking them out. So that's what we're doing here today. We got the Icotech set up. We got a great spot to call. We'll get the gun loaded up here, fire that thing up, and hopefully we'll get one of these predators to come in and give us a shot. So. Well, we did it. Second stand of the day, the Icotech pulled one in for us. So he was borderline into our scent cone, so that's why I took the shot where I did. I'd like to have let him come clear in here and got good and close for us, but he kept looking back over his shoulder. Did you see that? So that's why we spent a little extra time after we shot him, because usually when they're looking like that, there's usually a second coyote with them, but it never showed itself. So we got a good looking dog. I mean, he looked like a good one in the scope. So it's about a 100-yard shot. I don't know, he was awful close to our scent cone. I wanted to get him killed before he got wind of us and got out of dodge. So let's go see what we got. Wow. Well, there we go. One dog down. Little female. Had to bring her back up here. It's just windy as can be down in that bottom. So we brought her back up here, but looks like a 1-year-old dog. Got good teeth. She hadn't got a whole lot of wear on her teeth. Check out them canines. A lot of snow in her mouth, but those are wicked. Wicked. Those are some fawn eaters right there. No more. She's got a really nice height on her, don't you think?
Yeah, she does. Didn't mess the height up.
No. Messed the bone structure up a little bit.
She don't need them no more anyway.
No. Pretty little coyote. Pretty little coyote. Well, we're going to get this thing loaded up. There's plenty of these things around here, and they desperately need kept in check. So load this little girl up, hop in the truck, and head to the next spot. What do you think?
Another stand. Maybe
Yes.
he'll come in. Let me shoot it.
You want the next shot? Yeah.
Don't be so selfish next time.
Oh, we'll see about that. Oh, dog fell down.
Well, thanks for watching today's show. We had a action-packed show. We had some cows get killed, and we had a big buck story. Doesn't get much better than that. Thanks for watching today's show. Follow us on Facebook, Twitter, all the social media sites, and see you next week.
Whitetail Edge is brought to you by Rocky, Hoyt, Big Time, HHA Sports, Redneck Hunting Blinds, On Time Wildlife Feeders, Whitetails Unlimited, Advantage Ag and Equipment, Michael Waddell's Bone Collector, Black Widow Deer Lures, Bone Booster Mineral, Hawk Tree Stands, Hunt from Above. Be sure to follow Whitetail Edge on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram.